favorite radio station.
This is Afro Vibes, Radio Houston.
Man, women really seem to be dominating the talk show game. And when it comes to male-led talk shows, they're only talking about entertainment, sports, or music. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like the only place I can get deep conversation about stuff coming from black males is either through a sermon or from Neil deGrasse Tyson. Anyway, luckily, Afro Vibes Radio Houston has Medulla Talk. It's literally the embodiment of diversity of thought from a male perspective. We have people from all walks of life and from different backgrounds come to the show and share their thoughts. We discuss social norms, news headlines, philosophy concepts, Houston local issues, as well as common curiosities. Best of all, we aren't afraid to give you that real.
There's a difference between voting and getting involved in the process or having a peaceful protest and stuff like that and busting out windows, beating up people. We cannot get to the point where we try to stop hate with our own anger.
It's Medulla Talk, the diversity of male thought.
Too many MCs, not enough mics, not enough mics, not enough mics.
In a world where everyone is asleep, I'm awake. I am Christopher Mukes.
Having different perspectives and outlooks is key to growth. I'm Gerald Jarman.
I don't claim to know everything. I just claim to know where to look. I'm Stephen Hawkins.
I just slid right in. It's no big deal. I'm Kyle Lee. Devontae called me up on short notice.
Coming to you from the Afro Vibes Radio Houston studios, Totem Medulla Entertainment presents Medulla Talk with your hosts, Devontae Hill and Stephen Hawkins. Salutations, everybody. Welcome to Medulla Talk. I'm your host, Devontae Hill. This is Monday, September 25th, episode 2, American Insecurity. If you guys are listening on Afro Vibes Radio Houston app on Thursdays, salutations. If you're listening on YouTube, hey, how you guys doing? As well as iTunes or any other listening platforms. For today, we have our regular Stephen Hawkins, the Stephen Hawkins.
Salutations.
Of course, Kyle Lee.
Hello.
Yeah, we all know Kyle Lee.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah. Wait. He literally did nothing. What is up with this?
You can continue, Devontae. Go ahead.
And hey, we have our seasonal comedian relief of Medulla Talk, the Trong Lamb.
What up? It's good to be back. Welcome
Dude,
back
Trong.
to Trong.
T Lamb.
Yes,
Man,
sir.
Trong, we've missed your voice, man.
I'm back for now.
Been waiting to get you back on the track, dog.
Oh, I'm here. Don't get too used to it.
All right, so we got a great show for you guys today. Now, we originally were going to do domestic violence, but we decided to postpone that episode because we want to make sure we give you guys the best episode we can. We want to secure some really good guests for that show as well. And we wanted to wait for October because October is Domestic Violence Month. So that's always pretty cool.
Oh, wait. We also got Gerald on the phone, right?
Yeah, I was just about to chime in.
Hey, that's
Just,
another
like,
thing that
really-
happens every week.
You're welcome,
really,
Gerald.
really scandalous. Just ruin your
Well,
entire podcast.
We tell him to be quiet, and he actually
Did not.
Yeah, that was
quiet.
my fault. I kind of set us up for that because
yeah.
Gerald
I'm
Jarman, everybody. Gerald Jarman is on the show.
I'm the linchpin of this entire podcast.
You get applause from me, Gerald.
You know what, Gerald? This is for you.
What the heck? You just give applause out for anything.
Oh, Dumbledore over here giving out free points for courage.
Yeah, what's up with that?
I messed him on the
You're already a
intro.
co-host, Stephen.
Where's
Shush.
a Snape when you need one?
Yeah. Anyway.
No, right?
Anyway.
You.
But anyway, so we have a really good stacked show for you guys today. We have a news and politics segment talking about Trump's comments in regards to the protests as well as the EPA budget cuts that happened a couple of months ago. We're also going to be talking about Insecure on the show today and using it as a tool to help talk about and reflect different elements of life. So, but before other ado, let's go into our first segment. Houston Community News and Politics. Cool. So, if you guys weren't already aware, back in April, the Trump administration opposed budget cuts to the Environmental Protection Agency, that's the EPA, in their budget. So originally that was going to be 31%. So it's going to be taking it from what normally was $8 billion to somewhere close to $5.7 billion. The actual cuts ended up being somewhere between 10 and 6.5. Still, that is surprising that that stuff still passed through the House of Representatives, considering the onslaught of the tropical storms that we've experienced, and the EPA does actually help with that. And in case you guys are not really familiar with what the EPA does, they also help with cleaning any kind of oil spills, help with contaminated water. Of course, Flint, Michigan, they were involved with that effort as well, any disasters. Now, interesting thing. So Scott Pruitt, is that how you say his name?
Yes, Scott Pruitt.
That sounds right.
Yes.
That's terrible. Anyway.
Close enough.
I would say Pruitt.
Isn't it
Pruitt?
Pruitt?
I say
That's
PR.
a terrible name, man. Anyway, he was appointed the head of the EPA earlier this year, and the Washington Post said he regularly met up with corporate executives from automobile companies, mining, fossil fuels before making major decisions. Obviously, it's not that great, but we kind of knew this was going to happen based off of his hearing.
Whoa.
And Bernie Sanders actually blew him up for that. Stephen Hawkins.
Why is that not great? Who is directly going to be working hand in hand with the EPA in order to deal with some of the most hazardous materials, and who are they regulating?
They're regulating those.
Stephen.
So Stephen, are you
regulating-
suggesting that the Washington Post had a biased article?
No, what I'm saying is you have to talk to the people you're regulating if you're going to come up with regulations. Because the truth of the matter is, just like what we found out what happened with, oh my goodness, what's that one automobile company overseas from Germany?
Volkswagen?
Volkswagen.
There it is.
Yeah, so
I was going to say that.
So there's all these rules and all these laws and all these regulations saying, hey, you have to do this, you have to give us this amount of, you have to give us this amount of cuts and emissions, and this is that and the third. They had essentially been pushing back on that, saying that it was too high. And what did they end up having to do? Or not having to do? What did they end up doing? They ended up actually putting software in the vehicle to fool the emissions test rather than actually doing it.
Right.
So, for all the good that, all these intense regulations are doing, there's
someone on the ground.
Yeah. You have to
But
work with them.
on the flip side, I think this is just another case of regulatory capture. The regulatory capture is when you have somebody who is prominent in an industry like let's say banking. When Barack Obama first got elected, right? He didn't go to a Harvard professor. He didn't go to anybody else. He went to the executives at Goldman Sachs to fill out his Commerce and Treasury Secretary positions. So when you have someone like that when you have people who have a history of not actually regulating themselves, and then you pick someone from that industry, you're not really going to get any kind of good results.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, okay, so what do you guys think about the rumor out there that the government wants to eventually get rid of the EPA?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of states. There's a lot of states that would prefer that the EPA, at the very minimum, gets back to its basics. It's part of the get back to basics strategy that has been a part of the Republican platform.
What is the get back to basics?
Essentially, it's deregulating more of the of what the EPA has going on in several states.
Gotcha.
Governors don't like any type of national body jumping in and basically telling them, "Hey, you can't do this with this water, or do this way."
Right.
That's
my state's water. That's
exactly. Even though whatever type of economic good it could be doing, they're saying no, that there is a larger environmental cost to certain things, and that's where they're kind of going to from there. So,
okay, yeah. Any you guys have? Go ahead, Gerald.
Well, I'm sorry. I this like you said before, the conservatives in this country have long had interest in business. Those two interests have always been interlinked. So whenever they get a chance to deregulate something or monopolize something, they'll definitely go for it. And this is what they want to do. They want to get rid of the EPA. They want to be able to do everything unregulated, and they want to be able to do it with no oversight, no kind of risk of punishment. And this is what people apparently have voted for.
We're gonna have to probably touch on this in another time because this might be something that
I told you it's gonna get deep.
We're about to have that conversation, Gerald.
we're gonna have to follow up on that one.
It's like ogres. Ogres are like onions.
Yeah.
We put that in the environmental racism episode.
Right, yeah. All right, so another thing that happened during this week in particular, actually, was Trump made some interesting comments. Now, full disclaimer here, I try not to talk about Trump on this show because he gets plenty of publicity as it is already.
Yeah,
Also, my name is Trump, and his name is Trump, just to differentiate that. I can't tell you how many times I say my name, and then people give me a disgusting look, saying, Trump? And they act as if they're about to either pull out a weapon, like brandishing some sword underneath, because those are the people who get mad at me.
Speaking of
sword carriers,
sword
I mean,
bucklers.
it is legal now to carry around a sword.
What is not legal?
On your hip now here in Texas.
Really? Yeah,
just
that's
letting you
right.
know.
So soon it'll be ninja stars and throwing
Just to put that out there.
Boy, don't get me started.
So you guys are all familiar then with the tweet that he had about sports fans who never condone players standing up proud for their national anthem, or for not standing up proud for their national anthem or their country, and those people should be. What was the exact quote on that one? The owners should fire those.
He said, "Wouldn't you love to see one of these NFL owners, when somebody disrespects our flag, say, 'Get that son of a bleep off the field right now. Out, he's fired.'"
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So here's the thing with this, and this is why again I don't like talking about Trump, because clearly this dude,
you don't like it.
This guy
But you do
just likes to just start crap. Like, out of all the things that the president should be talking about, right? Like the Puerto Rico stuff, obviously the North Korea things could be one.
Yeah.
Right.
He's deciding to spend most of his energy on something that he really has no business in.
Football.
Yeah. He spends a lot of his time on Twitter, for one.
Which, was Obama allowed to have full personal access to his Twitter account?
If he was,
Yes,
he
just
didn't
barely
use
used it.
Yeah, like he just assigned and delegated that to somebody.
Yeah.
So he would avoid.
I mean, that's what
do
PR
this.
is for. Like someone to basically proofread, spell check, make sure you don't say anything out of line.
Exactly.
And
It's a
just
second.
send out this dry statement that everyone can kind of see coming. Where Trump is literally on the toilet at 3 a.m. in the morning talking about last night's episode of I don't know, whatever show he might watch.
Insecure.
I was talking to a significant other earlier this morning.
Oh.
And
Me?
she was.
Oh.
Yeah, it was actually Trong.
Yes.
That's another podcast right there.
We've had that one
We're gonna
before.
touch on that later on in the show. No. So I was talking to girl thing, and she was saying that it was interesting how
Girl thing. Is that like
That was a-
she didn't want me to say her name in the show.
Well, you can just say, just say girlfriend.
She was just like, you can mention me, but don't say my name. So I was just, can I go back to the?
Oh, that's a professional courtesy. I can understand.
Yeah.
Because I actually was going somewhere with this.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, so she says, I don't understand how people get upset about people kneeling when a lot of times people are at their houses, sitting on the couch during these football games. You're probably not even like paying attention to the national anthem when it's being played in the beginning of the games. If you're at a bar, you're probably ordering a drink, talking to some girl. So there's like a disconnect there.
Oh, yeah, but the whole conversation starts with, it's all about perception, right? Because if your boss was away for 7 hours, and those 7 hours you worked your butt off, but then the 5 minutes they come back and they see you on the phone, what's their perception of you, right?
All you're doing is just being on the phone.
So it's the same thing. So it's so easy to put the blame on something when you see it visually, right? Whereas, and you said that's the disconnect. Whereas if you're at home and on your couch, no one's going to blame you. You can do whatever you want. You can watch football naked. No one would know. Well,
do you watch football naked?
Let's get on to the next. We're running low on time here.
So I don't know if you guys are also familiar with this part of it.
Saves money.
But apparently there's some poll going around saying that the NFL has lost almost 30% of their viewership because of the protests.
As much as I would love to believe that, because I don't really care too much about football, I highly doubt that. Most of the
That's
people,
a lot of people.
Exactly.
That's a lot.
I mean, maybe it accounts for some, but I don't know about. What
now,
did you say, 30?
I do believe
27.
that the ratings have kind of dropped. Not as significantly as they predicted. But it's not going to stop jersey sales. It's not going to stop Madden from being sold. It's not going to stop people from attending games. Right. I think it's just going to change the behavior of certain football fans and how they approach going to a live sporting event. That's basically the main draw that I see from this whole thing.
So I had this really interesting conversation with this old lady who I was selling a mattress to at work. And she's a very staunch Republican, and you're going to find this hilarious. She's like a diehard patriot, even though she's from the UK, which made no sense. But
she says
the Revolutionary War was a long time ago, guys.
She calls French fries freedom fries. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, she's one of those.
Whatever. Anyway, so I was trying to understand why she was so adamant about, these people, if they don't like this country, then they can leave, and all these other attitudes. And I was trying to understand her perspective. And apparently she's more upset about the fact that football, it was supposed to be an escapism. It's a way for folks to, think about other things, get away from work issues, maybe news, things like that. And they're starting to see NFL players and basketball players as well kind of bringing the real world to their escapism. But then I challenged her. So I was just like, so basically you're not viewing these players as people. They're tools in your escapism.
Right.
They're characters in the show.
Right.
An unscripted show, by the way.
What did she say to that?
Yeah, some might argue the difference.
Some
people in jail.
I would like to see you script a tackle, please.
No, I'm serious. Like, some people think that the NFL
some people think
there's rigged
everything.
elements. I agree with you, but I think you were talking to German. I don't want to take his time, but some people feel that way because they want to escape reality. But you escape reality by watching a movie or a television series. These people are people who happen to be athletes who happen to entertain you by athletically competing against each other. That does not stop their brain. They don't have lines. They don't have dialogue that they must read. They can say whatever the hell they want to say.
And I'm not trying to side with her. Maybe she phrased it in a non-kosher way. Maybe she meant, this is a way for me to break from my normal business, normal routine that stresses me out. But at the same time, you have to understand these are human beings, right? You can't, whatever you say and how you say it, you have to carefully phrase it, especially if it involves other individuals and their personal, their personal beliefs, their personal agenda, and their family. Everyone has. I mean, what if you were treated that way?
Okay.
You always have to look at it that way as well.
Here goes Steven.
I'll tell you. Like, I had an argument with my lady earlier today about the flag. She's a military brat.
Girl thing?
And yes, my girl thing. Who I'm not going to use her name on air out of respect, even though, you could probably get on my Facebook and easily find her.
I'm
whatever.
getting on it right now.
He's like, right now.
All the girls are doing it now. Who do we have to go after?
Oh, no.
And she said that there was like and we got in an argument, and I was saying, I don't know. I don't think an anthem or the flag is necessarily America. And she got offended by that. And I realized, and we got actually we were in Mod's Pizza, and we actually got into an argument about this in front of people. And then, as she was driving away before I came up here, and it just kind of dawned on me, this stuff is sacred to some people.
Yeah.
It would almost be like, say you're a diehard A&M fan, and you're at church minding your own business, and the pastor gets up there and takes 5 minutes out of the sermon to essentially lay down a list of reasons why A&M sucks and UT is better.
No.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, how would that even go over? And it's funny because church, just like any other community gathering, is supposed to be relatively neutral. It's supposed to be everybody's there, agrees on something at a certain level. Because here, take this for instance. Even if you're at a political rally, most people, if you're at that political rally, most people agree that, hey, we all kind of agree on similar issues at this moment. That's why you have all these people going rah, 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 and like all these people doing nay, 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 not in there, but on the outside. And that's just kind of what it really kind of shatters people's perception of like unity of the country.
Did she specify exactly why it was so sacred to her?
Oh, no, she was a military brat. Yeah. She lived under the flag while she was overseas.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and that was the one guy.
I think she's full of crap because I'm a military brat and I've lived overseas as well.
I'm telling you, man.
It's always like listen. This whole controversy is worthless, but it's done one thing. It's shown me who exactly understands what their country is about and the ideals of this country and who doesn't. Today was racism Christmas for me. Racism Christmas.
I'm not.
You're gonna have to explain that.
So, do we have to make some?
Is that like a national
Christmas
holiday
carols?
in General Land?
Yeah.
Because no,
I want to see what that tree looks
Christmas. It was racism Christmas for me because it showed me who everybody's true colors, on how they think and what their priorities are. And how they view themselves as citizens. Like for instance, I'm gonna read you a good quote here.
Okay.
I got.
I was about to read somebody's Facebook post. I'm like,
yes, I am.
Put somebody on blast.
I am. Actually.
We're not there yet, man.
Steven's girl thing is.
No, I'm not gonna say any names or anything. I'm just gonna be, I'm just gonna keep this as non.
No, give it to me.
Go ahead and read it.
Give it to us.
All right, hold on. Let me switch over to this thing here.
You had all this
Thanks,
build up.
I know, right?
All this build
So
up.
underwhelming.
This is the worst foreplay
And
ever.
the killer is.
So
hold on
no,
one second.
okay. So anyways, while I'm trying to do this, so there's this guy who was a vet, and he was like, hey, these protests are like them giving the finger to everybody who have died for this flag, and he didn't really exactly articulate his point. So I put what Colin Kaepernick said, his exact statement about it, and then he replied, "Wrong venue," and I'm like, "How so?" And he's just like, and it's just like these people just have these deflections that they have against any argument,
Right.
I tell him Colin Kaepernick's argument, then he's like, "Oh, well, it's the wrong venue," and he's like, "Well, how so?" And he should have just done it in private rather. Well, if you're protesting in private, that makes your protest meaningless and useless.
Yeah, it makes no sense. Here's another thing I don't like, Gerald, is that these are the same folks who were very quiet when those KKK folks and all those people in Charlottesville were hoisting the American flag,
Right.
spitting racist crap.
Our president called them decent people, by the way.
Right.
Where the football players are sons of bitches.
So there's I mean, I would love consistency. If you're going to be upset about somebody
Go ahead, Steve.
kneeling for the national anthem,
Go ahead.
you should be equally upset about somebody devaluing the flag by hoisting it around saying white power.
I'm gonna go ahead and lay it out
because
there.
Here's the thing about it, though. Here's the thing, though. Their views about other people of other ethnic groups being American citizens are very skewed. I honestly think that they think that somehow we're like American citizens light.
Okay, so I get what you're saying. So you're saying that there are some people that are happy to be here, and then there's some people, and then like are here, and there's other people who are just lucky to be here.
No, I'm thinking that there are some people who have this, all the rah-rah patriot way to flag people who believe that there are some people in this country who aren't as American as they are, despite the fact that
I would agree that they think to themselves, but I don't think that it's simply just a race thing. I think it's simply just a hey, I'm really into the flag, or I'm really into America as an institution. And to that end, I'm going to defend it just like it's my sports team. I'm going to defend my sports team no matter what. It doesn't matter if somebody comes out and tells me, hey, your running back may have beat a girl. This is that and the third. I'm going to look for ways to try to defend it.
I'm a ride or die.
Exactly. They're ride or dies. It's imagine being a ride or die fan and then seeing somebody who's like with the team when good things are happening, but they're like the main loudest people yelling at the team whenever bad things are happening. What do you think of that person?
but these are the same people that always tell us to be objective in our reasoning
Yes.
when they are not.
Yes.
Like for
I hear
instance,
you. I hear you.
but it's like me, for instance, right? Let's do a sports analogy. Let's do some sports talk for a minute. I used to be a huge Cowboys fan, right? I was
Used to
the
be. You
Cowboys
still are,
fan.
bull.
I was the Cowboys fans, right?
Yeah.
So now I'm not a Cowboys fan because the Cowboys are just incompetently run and have been for most of my life now,
Wow.
right?
I think that that's
just
pretty
like-
strong.
Didn't they do all
I'm,
kinds
Sorry,
of
I'm a
I'm
shit?
waiting
Texans
for the
fan.
point here because I'm like, wait a minute.
The point I'm
He's
trying to
getting
make is like I'm able to kind of rationally look at this and be like, hey, the Cowboys are a good team when they're run competently, but they're not very run competently. So I can't really wholeheartedly support them, right? So if you're a patriot, you have to look at your country and be like, hey, I love my country, I love the flag, but there are some things that we can improve on.
I don't
And
think,
people
but I don't think that's wavering of your patriotism. Like I'm a very patriotic person,
Exactly.
but there's a bunch of issues that I have with America and American
Right.
culture.
Right.
And
that's what I'm trying to say.
but
That's
the
essentially
thing.
what I just said.
A lot of people. That's why I said the sports team analogy.
Yeah.
Imagine being just like die hard for something that you would defend it that much, and that it's directly tied to your character, and then somebody who also claims to be die hard for it always is criticizing it. How do you view that person? Just think of like any sports team that we think
Yeah,
about.
but that's a immaturity on that person's end.
But this is how they see it.
Yeah, sure.
Like we even have a president in the White House who's 100% all or nothing. You're either 100% for me or you're 100% against me.
He's dark side.
In all seriousness, like this is where we're at. That there are certain topics, certain things, certain yada 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 taboo things that if you're not 100% for it,
Sure.
you're on the fence. You're not with me.
Right,
You're
you're-
like,
All right, so how
My
about
way or
this?
the highway,
So I
kinda.
guess my biggest issue with all this is that I want to take the person that you just described. This person's a diehard person for the American flag, right? The American flag
well,
is material.
American traditions.
American tradition.
Because
All
we're
right.
not even talking about the
Holding
flag
it as
here.
a sacred institution. Right?
Man,
Well,
I,
but the-
I
but-
see that flag maybe
But-
like
but- but-
once.
But I
in
have a
all
point here.
reality,
I have a point here.
Yeah.
So let's take a person who does see this flag as a very sacred object. What I would love to see is for you to take that same passion and put it to a human. Because the flag is one thing, but you should be equally upset when you see other Americans getting shot down.
Before that,
Exactly.
I noticed that they talked about how they pretty much said that.
Wait, I'm sorry.
Okay, they pretty much said that
Good.
they don't want to desecrate the flag, but they forget that there are certain rules to the flag that you have to follow. For instance, the flag's not supposed to be embroidered on any type of clothing. It's not supposed to be used to advertise or sell anything.
If it was truly sacred.
If it was truly sacred, you would honor these things. You would not have.
I think that's a
You
phenomenal.
would not have
point.
the American flag.
You wouldn't
on a
have it in
football
clothing.
jersey. You wouldn't have it in clothing. You
Yeah.
wouldn't have it in your mattress sale. You wouldn't have it blown up for everyone to see, so everyone can feel patriotic and want to spend money. It also has a lot to do with consumerism.
But the mattress salesman's not criticizing the flag.
I
And that's-
understand that.
No.
But he's using
And
it to
that's-
make money.
But that's
That's how they think.
That's
I
the
get
rub
that.
here.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
they're not criticizing it.
Yeah.
All right, I do want to touch on. Oh wait, Gerald, you did have a point.
Yeah, man.
Oh no.
But the
Oh,
whole
no.
point is this is like a stupid deflection from what Colin Kaepernick was actually trying
Right.
to talk about. This,
Right. It's a
about
distraction.
police violence against minorities.
No.
Like everybody's just making this about he's disrespecting the flag. It people keep forgetting that, and every time I remind them, everybody just gets weird about it and just like they just lose their minds. Like
Plus, how are you going to be okay with people weekly getting brain damage, but a protest is just completely out of hand?
Here's the thing,
Yeah.
guys. People bought into a narrative. Like there's a lot, and I'm just gonna frankly tell you, there's a lot of Caucasian Americans who's bought into a narrative because they're the majority.
A lot of what?
And there are
White
a
people.
lot
White people.
European Americans.
There are a lot
land
of
of
white
Caucasia.
people, quote unquote, that bought into a narrative after the Michael Brown thing that don't stand like hands up, don't shoot was fake, and this is that and the third, which in the eyes of the court, it didn't happen, and they took that, and then they have created a narrative for themselves that if that was false and all these people were jumped onto it, then all of it must have been just one big misunderstanding, and that the cops were doing their job, and their job is hard, and they had to make the hard decisions in order to keep the peace.
And collateral damage.
And and the people that died were just collateral damage.
Do you want to roll over to the Steph Curry comment?
Yeah, so I did want to touch a little bit on the Steph Curry incident with Trump again. Oh, God. So basically...
He's such a baby. I love it.
Stephen Curry was like, hey, we're going to have a group decision on whether we want to go to the White House or not. I'm just letting you guys know that I'm going to vote no. That's essentially all he said.
He said this months ago.
Months ago.
Well, he didn't say he said he was still thinking about it, right?
No, he made a decision already.
Him, KD, they were like, no,
we're not going to vote no.
I sworn that they said that they were thinking about it.
So Trump, being the butthurt person that he typically is like, oh, all right, well, I wasn't going to invite y'all anyway. Invitation withdrawn, like a little kid.
Whoa,
that's basically it.
I like how we be called. You know what's funny about Trump? We call out so much stuff about how him being petty. Yeah, we are so petty in our own lives.
Guess what though? He's the president.
Exactly. But that's what I'm saying. I hear you.
You know what, Kyle? Kyle, I'm gonna give you one of these.
Wow.
That's two if you count the insult.
like it's really funny because he is literally every petty thing you've ever done in your life, except molded into a person and is representing you on the world stage.
All right. We do have to move on. So that's it for today's political segment. It ran on way too long, but we're going to probably touch on these things in a further episode. When we come back from break, we're going to talk about, or if we have time after break, we're going to talk about Insecure and how some of those elements in that TV show reflects everyday life. Stick around, you guys are listening to Medulla Talk.
We're giving you the best on Afro Vibes Radio. We are 24/7, so don't change that dial. Just leave it on.
For voice talent or video production services, contact Total Medulla at totalmedulla.com. You want to advertise on Medulla Talk? Well, contact Total Medulla at totalmedulla.com. Hey guys, welcome back from break. So for today's discussion, we're going to be talking about Insecure and how some of the elements in that show reflects everyday life. So some of you guys might be asking, what is Insecure? Well, Insecure is what?
Oh, I just wanted to say, spoiler alert. I know the show ended about a couple weeks ago. We are going to talk about the progression of the show, not necessarily in any potential order, but we will mention the ending and some parts in the middle that are very important to the story. So
yes, major spoiler alerts for anybody listening. If you get upset and blast my email because I said something to you, hey, it is what it is. So, but for those who are not initiated, Insecure is basically a show that follows certain groups of people and just basically showing the complexities of blackness, right? Essentially showing that black people are just like everyday people going through everyday things.
So like Black Sex in the City or
like a Will and Grace.
You can't really black
It's not a
that
sitcom though. It's more like it's a written.
It's a drama. It's a comedy drama, pretty much.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's lots of laughs, lots of cries, some fist balling, like some angry moments. But at the end of it tells an up and down struggle of people.
All right.
Yeah, it's not too shabby. So the first thing I want to do is actually bring it up to Kyle.
Yeah.
Because Kyle, I noticed that the relationship between Isaa and Lawrence is very complex, and it's a huge focal point in Insecure. So if you guys want to give people kind of a little backstory.
It's a very complex relationship, yet at the same time a very relatable relationship.
And this is one of the main characters?
These are two of the main characters. As far as I know, there's three main characters of the show. It's Isaa, Lawrence, and Molly. Although there are lots of side characters that get a lot of time on the show. But the main couple that we're introduced to is Isaa and Lawrence. And their relationship starts out kind of rocky. They've been together for 4 years. And Isaa, she works for a nonprofit. She's not necessarily happy with her job. She's also not happy with her boyfriend, who unfortunately is unemployed. He's been unemployed for 2 years now. He's kind of bumming it up. And you know, she kind of feels like she deserves to have more. And she also has a friend named Molly, who's a lawyer, who's making really good money, but she has her own relationship issues. So one of the main topics of the first season is Issa trying to kind of come up with the courage to tell Lawrence, her boyfriend, that he kind of needs to do better. Meanwhile, she's trying to resist the temptation of her ex or her old flame from high school that her old crush, I should say. And it's very relatable because I do feel like there's a lot of relationships that exist today and in the past or whatever, but they involve one person kind of carrying the workload and not necessarily having the confidence or having the knowledge and how to drive a conversation to their spouse or their partner and say, hey, you need to carry the other half. So it ends up dragging them both down, and they end up making mistakes down the road that affect their relationship in a dramatic way.
Wow.
So I have a question for Steven and Trong, because you guys both haven't seen the show. Gerald, have you seen the show?
Absolutely not.
Okay, so then you three.
Gerald exists as well.
So kind of speaking on, spoiler alert, the relationship between Isaa and Lawrence, there is a point in time where Isaa kind of feels certain types of feelings towards an ex of hers. And
his name is Daniel, by the way.
His name is Daniel, and he's a pretty buff dude. He's a music producer. It looks like he has his stuff together. Almost a complete contrast to Lawrence.
Yes.
And
wait, what's Lawrence even like do? Like, is he like just like a bum or?
Let me explain. So Lawrence is he graduated. I believe he had an engineering degree. He wanted to create an app. The app was called Woot Woot. It's an app where basically when you send one message, it goes to all your social medias and everyone gets it.
Oh my gosh.
It's a cool idea 6 years ago.
That's like the most overused startup idea ever.
So the thing about it is he had this idea years ago, but unfortunately did not know how to act upon it. So he felt like he was too above a regular job, and the only way he would work is if he was working on his app, which means he wasn't making any money. Because passion projects don't make you money.
I see.
Hashtag Medulla Talk.
Hashtag we need sponsors, please.
Based on a true story.
Yeah, so I mean, he was developing this app, and eventually he did get a job at Best Buy.
What?
Yeah, so I mean, he was slowly edging himself over to, some good status. But here's the thing. So Isaa, during this time was looking at him and kind of upset about the situation. Again, not having a conversation with Lawrence. And she ends up slipping up one night.
No bueno.
What do you mean, like the floor was wet?
Like she slips onto someone else's.
Daniel slid up in there. Whoa.
What?
In a dirty recording studio.
Yeah, and like
she became someone else's girl thing.
Wow.
So basically, there was a level of guilt on Isaa, a lot of shame, because at this point, Lawrence is starting to get his life together. He's starting to make money. He's building his confidence. He's in shape. He's all happy.
He has interviews.
So this happened before she found out about
his turn of good fortune.
This is like when he starts doing well.
So when he's like slowly edging,
I see.
She makes this mistake, and then is whole guilty, and then Lawrence keeps getting better and better, and then the guilt starts increasing more,
and then she tries to cover it up because Daniel's showing up at her job, and he's emailing her like, hey, we're not gonna talk. And
so Daniel doesn't know.
Daniel knows.
No, Daniel knew that she had a boyfriend.
He knows. He's not the smart. He's not the best one in this. But
Mr. Steele.
Meanwhile, Lawrence, who works at the Best Buy, goes to the bank across the street and knows this bank teller named Tasha. And Tasha is a beautiful woman. She's fun. She's eccentric.
Okay.
She's like Isaa, but she's a little more supportive. Because she's
way more supportive. She's, just talking about how, hey, at least you're going to do this. Your app's going to be amazing. You're going to be amazing. Just really stroking the ego.
She'll lie to you.
It's what he needs. He was
spitting game
right
dude.
now.
She was spitting mad game.
I need lies.
Because Issa's truths hurt. So, and down the road, she shows up to his job at Best Buy, and she's like, hey, you want to go out sometime? No, I told you I'm in a relationship. I can't. She showed up to his job in nice tight jeans, tight shirt.
Her boobs were like pressed together.
Perfect.
Like it was
I need to watch the show.
To buy
like pressed together, because I don't like that. Like looking like you're about to like pop out your clothes.
It looked like it was gonna burst.
Go ahead and cut
out.
his mic off, Devontae.
Okay, click.
So I don't like that. But anyway, But anyway, like you were saying, he motivates her and he tells her, he sticks by his girlfriend. He sticks by Issa.
That's a real man right there.
Real man.
Yeah.
He did it. The problem was this all happened way after she cheated. So Issa ends up having a benefit because she works for a nonprofit for these high school where they help get kids and programs. And at the benefit, Daniel shows up because Daniel actually donated money to the benefit. Therefore, he's allowed to show up to the nice function.
Then, so long story short, Lawrence finds out about Daniel. They end up finally having a talk about what happened, and then they break up.
They argue.
And he's just like, get out of my face. I don't want to talk to you. My question to you guys is there any moment in you guys' relationships where it's okay for her to cheat? Like, do you think it was okay for Issa to cheat in that situation?
Hold up. In my relationship?
Well, I guess, not really your relationship.
If I was in their position.
Is there a good reason for a person to cheat?
Particularly a woman.
All right. So what I can tell you is
you take it first, Steven.
All right. If she felt the need to cheat, she felt the need for like that validation, that escape. That means that there was poor communication going on.
Exactly.
Something was going on.
Exactly.
Yes.
Like women, more and more of them are turning out to be savages nowadays. Like I'm just
turning
being real.
out to be just now. Like
We're a little slow, Joe.
It's like police brutality. Now we have video footage of it.
Yeah. Women are becoming the aggressors and savages now because they're learning. But like most of the time, there's like always a reason of some sort. Like when anybody cheats,
right.
there's this deficiency somewhere else. So like, was he like not catering to her? Was he just like kind of ignoring her, like forgetting birthdays?
And we can kind of
First episode, he was like, she's like, can we still go out?
Yeah.
Can we stay in and just rent a video? I just feel like going out on her birthday.
Sean, what are you gonna say?
No, I'm saying we can kind of understand, but that doesn't validate it, right? I'm pretty sure she feels a lot of stress to be the breadwinner, so she's probably thinking in her head. I haven't seen the show, so you have to correct me if I'm wrong. But in her head, she's probably thinking, okay, because I'm the breadwinner, because I'm taking care of everything. It also gives me the jurisdiction, the executive power to make a decision about this relationship. So if I want to cheat, then I can cheat. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay, you're kind of right.
Harem logic.
In the first episode,
you see what I'm saying?
She actually bumps into Daniel, and she kind of gets this feeling of, I deserve to be happy too. And she was going to go through with it, but when she spoke to Daniel and started talking to him, she mentioned that, I just got out of a relationship, and Daniel's like, oh, well, I'm not looking for a relationship.
And I'm not saying that's exclusively to women. Like, guys could be guilty of
I'm
this
going to
as
say
well.
people, because
people.
The only reason why I think it kind of we pertain to women because the show's about her.
Right, it just happens.
But also, they knew a demographic that could get to watch the show the most.
Hey.
Exactly.
Shoot, I watch it.
Shout outs to our women who watch Medulla talk. What's up?
Yeah.
It's true. No, it's absolutely true. Women are better and more loyal to TV shows than men are. They get to a TV show, they begin to care about the characters, and they stay on the show. They don't have to be.
But back to our conversation.
Sure. Does he have a comment?
Gerald, you about to say something?
Gerald?
Oh God. If I say something right now, we will lose every single female.
All right, moving on.
So,
Oh no.
No. Let the man talk. And if it's that bad, edit it out.
No, there is no editing. This is a live show.
Got the money for that.
There is no editing.
Okay, no, let Gerald speak. Gerald, just
Okay, I just think that some women don't receive any kind of game earlier in their life to know what type of guy that they, I guess, should ultimately quote unquote have. Right.
Here we go.
So more often than not, this will sometimes lead to them making some horrible choices in dudes. Right. So I think that sometimes, sometimes they don't like no father figure, no kind of older brother, stuff like that. So sometimes they'll get with the guy, and the guy is like a bum. All he does is sell weed. Takes her car.
Gerald, this is personal
episode.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I heard the story before.
This sounds like a personal experience.
It's
a recurring theme.
Are we hitting close to home?
Is that sometimes they don't exactly know what they want, and that's not because they just like it's like an active thing. It's just like they haven't had.
Do you think that Issa in those moments just didn't know what she wanted, even though she'd been with Lawrence for 4 years?
She really didn't know what she wanted. Because if she was really down with him like that, she wouldn't have cheated.
Well,
she wouldn't have cheated.
Like, I think that the thing is, we do know
because something slightly better came along.
We do know what we want. I think that it's facts that we don't know how to get it. I think that's the big issue here. Like, all of us want to be happy. All of us want to feel like wanted. All of us want to feel appreciated. All of us, you know, we have like a list of things we all know we want.
Yep.
But the problem is we literally have no idea whether we're going to be able to get it all from one person.
Yep.
We're going to be able to speak to this person and get it there.
There's always that what if.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
What if to fill in, you have all these uncertainties and you have all these quote unquote voids and deficiencies, and then you say, okay, well, what if this person could do this? On the outside, this person looks like they can do this, where I'm sitting with this bum at home.
Yes.
And he's not filling in that void for me. You know, he's a good guy and I'm loyal to him, but he's not helping me feel the thing that I really need to become a better person.
Okay.
Now,
and I can't really discount that, because there are a lot of bum dudes out there. Let's not mince words. There are a lot of guys that don't fulfill their obligations to their women or their families, and that's just a really unfortunate thing.
That's a fancy way to say they're not hitting it right.
Now to move on to
not just that. I mean, come on now.
Which is what I immediately thought when you guys said that.
Hold on.
I'm just saying,
move on to the next topic.
On the couch all day.
Let them move on, Gerald.
They're on 2K all day, you know.
Now to move on to the next topic. Basically, the next topic was how when they broke up, which starts the next season, they kind of start out at odds. It's been 3 months, and they're all kind of figuring things out. Lawrence ended up dating the bake teller because at the end of the season,
Tasha.
He was knocking that out at the end of the episode.
It was very graphic.
Very graphic, but unforgettable.
Moral of the story:
He's hitting home.
Get like Daniel.
No. Lawrence was the winner.
You said Lawrence.
Like,
Okay.
this guy went on a freaking
Lawrence
rampage.
came out on top.
This guy literally inspired millions of men. But basically what I'm saying is that they never got a chance to properly heal. They broke up. They went their separate ways. There was no dialogue between them.
Gotcha.
So the first time they see each other, Lawrence gets this fire in his belly to immediately throw Isaa on the couch and make love to her.
Wow.
Now, it wasn't anything. It wasn't intrusive. He
didn't manifest.
Oh no,
But it was a horrible. It was a horrible situation though.
Yeah.
Like
now, that's basically his version of healing. Is a quickie. That made him feel okay, but he still felt empty after that, because the next couple of times they bump into each other, they're japping at each other, and Isaa figures that, I guess we're kind of this is our healing process, and she doesn't understand it. So should people who break up, who kind of separate, and they don't spend time to talk and see why they separated, should they actually go through a healing process to see maybe if there was any fault on their side or any fault on the other person's side?
this kind of goes back to the whole communication thing, though.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you should have had that communication there beforehand.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, but
I'd agree.
realistically,
like talking about it afterwards doesn't really do anything.
Sure. Everyone's human nature, right?
Yeah.
And so you can have accidents, but just because it's an accident doesn't make it right.
True.
Yeah.
So I would definitely agree with Gerald. Like, you need to have that communication beforehand, because then the healing process would have already been resolved through that communication prior to. Well, then maybe that wouldn't have happened in the first place if there was communication.
I think it was a horrible mistake on his part to, I guess, let emotion take over, because you're giving Isaa mixed signals by having sex with her in that moment. Like, if you're on the fence, that's literally the last thing you want to do.
Yeah. Now he's in the wrong.
Yeah.
or you're enacting the revenge that you've been wanting. Because the thing about it is, your girl cheats on you. She violates your trust after nagging you like for months. And I'm assuming she was nagging because I've lived in a place where like the girl had a job and had everything together and the guy didn't.
Yeah.
And
I think we've all kind of.
There's a lot of this. There's a lot of this going on.
It's called living with your mom.
You ain't shit. No, like if you're like dating a girl and you're living with her and you don't have a job. Yeah, you have prospects. Yeah, you're this. Yeah, you're that. Like they run their mouth and.
Now, to counter that, I don't believe Isaa did until later on, because if you watch the show, Lawrence is pretty comfortable in his situation. He's watching YouTube videos and got his feet up on the couch. Like he's kind of.
Is that what he's doing all day?
Pretty much. I mean, besides, kind of working on his app, he's really not goal-oriented at the time, or his only goal is something that's kind of unobtainable.
Oh, this is when he was with Isaa?
This is when he was with
Yeah,
Isaa.
this is back when they were, yeah.
So, with the breakup, it kind of separated them, and then that moment brought them together for, a couple minutes. And then at that point, they were apart.
I
give the man some slack. It was
I
at
do want to
least
move
15.
on to another part of the show here. And this is something that a lot of people are kind of on one side or another on. So it's obviously a great topic for conversation.
What if we're all on one side, though?
Maybe. All right, so Molly is a character in the show that, just to kind of give you a little quick backstory, lawyer, makes a lot of money, works in a firm, but she has this problem when it comes to relationships where she has a really high expectation for people. Like somebody's either too short, or they're not successful enough, or she'll find something that's wrong with them, and then break the relationship. Right? There was a moment where she was dating a guy, and in the process of them opening themselves up to each other, he shared with her that he had an encounter in college with another guy, and the guy gave him fellatio.
May I add?
Wait, whoa.
Wait, no.
Whoa.
Wait, Steve.
What?
Wait, Steve. Before you go, may I add that she told her own story about how she had a lesbian phase in college. And how she just said it like it was something everyone go, oh, hey, I had a little lesbian phase in college.
Right.
And he goes, oh, okay, that's what's up. Well, one time I kind of got oral from this guy, but I didn't really like it. After that, I never did it again. And she's just like, wait, what?
I only did it 4 times.
Only once.
Double standard.
Complete double standard. It's a funny moment in the show, but then it kind of brought me into like reality where it's like,
Wait, he didn't bring it up until she said that first,
exactly.
right?
He would have never
There's no way. You would have brought that up
wouldn't bring that up at
Oh,
all.
yeah. Hey, we have something in common.
Society has this idea that like 2 women are attractive, but 2 men are completely a gross abomination.
Right.
Blah, blah, blah,
Some
blah.
of society does.
Yeah,
And the
for
idea
sure.
that like, you're right, I'm sorry, but the idea that a man can experience one thing in his life and say, you know what, I didn't really like that, and then go back, is for some reason isn't accepted, but a woman can easily go wherever she wants. And
they can call each other girlfriends. Like if I were to call Devontae my boyfriend, no, that would totally have a different meaning.
Go in the bathroom with each other.
Hey.
When's the wedding?
We don't have to
Because you don't want
disclose
to. Well, I found out. My wife told me.
That is exactly
another
right.
My
episode,
wife told me
folks.
the reason why women go to the bathroom together is not to gossip, but it's to actually protect each other. Because if you go in the bathroom while you're slightly inebriated, somebody can actually come in.
Okay,
there.
but still, the fact
Hold
that
up.
it's not looked on.
I'm not
as-
lying.
It requires
That's what she
one
told me.
key, okay? That's
Yeah.
that's the
Wait,
simple
what are we
fact.
talking about here? Because I thought I was talking about your point.
Oh,
What
no.
are y'all talking about?
I'm still in the bathroom.
He came with the bathroom thing, but basically we were kind of talking about the double standard. Like, is that socially acceptable to consider that a man can't experience something and decide he doesn't like it?
I think you're talking about 2 completely different things, because for women, their sexuality is way more fluid than a man's.
Because society allows
Yeah,
it.
why is that the
Right,
case?
right.
Well,
It's just
not
socially
just like just
scripted.
because like in general, like for
How?
guys,
But that's still a
like,
perception a perception that's sculpted by conditioning from social norms, right?
Yeah. Like that's not. There's no
And
reality
your
or like a
opinion
statistic.
of that. No, I totally agree with you, but I think that comes from us being conditioned to think that way. Like we're wired that way based on what we've seen, experienced, media, etc. Right?
Like, and it is true. I personally.
I don't know, man.
I'm still laughing that he just said this to this girl. Like he's like, so back in college,
yeah,
I dabbled
by the
a little
way.
bit too.
Well, no, she had to kind of weed it out of him because he was like, you experimented. She's like, experiment what? With a guy. And she's like, well, the guy. He's like, well, look, he went down on me one time and I didn't like it.
Okay, all right. I'll ask this one
Wait,
question.
how would she ask it? Did she say, "Oh, I've had some sort of homosexual
She
experience"?
started
Did you have a homosexual
Nah,
experience?
it was just they were talking about what
Is
was
that
the
how you
wildest
would ask
thing.
it,
What was the
Sean?
wildest thing you did in college? And she said, "Oh, I did cocaine. Oh, I had a
What
lesbian
were your taboos?
relationship." He was like, "Oh, I had sex with my professor or something like
Yeah,
that." He basically
right,
told
right,
some
right,
story.
he was
about it.
active.
He was active too. So
Very productive.
Yeah, he
reproductive.
she had kind of goaded it out of him, and he ended up telling it, and ends up changing their relationship. There's a scene where he's giving her cunnilingus, and she's just like, "Stop, I can't. Like, I think you're gay." Like,
Wow.
like in the middle of it.
damn.
Wow.
She hit him with the nigga, you gay.
Yes.
That's messed up.
It's so screwed up. But that's her character. Her character finds ways to sabotage her relationship. Either she's too clingy, or she's too distant, or he doesn't make enough money, or maybe he kind of got a bad chin. She finds something.
Okay.
To
That's crazy. I will ask one thing though.
Yeah.
Was he drunk when it happened, or was this like a sober encounter?
They were sober. Matter of fact, they had just had sex. They had sex in the kitchen. It's a scene where he walks over, he brings wine because she's cooking. What? And he brings the wine. He holds the wine up.
I don't want to talk too much about the show, but I mean, that's to kind of wrap that point up.
That's interesting, huh?
Very interesting.
Where is our synopsis on this double standard? Like, where are we kind of at on this?
Oh no, there is a double standard.
Yeah, that double standard exists. In my opinion, I mean, if the guy want to experiment, let him experiment.
I mean, you can say hypermasculinity. You can say maybe it's
I mean, like even when you're talking about in a context of hypermasculinity, there have been cultures like the Spartans, ancient Greeks, that didn't really have that sort of.
Yeah,
I mean, they did that because they went to war after that, so they were like really close together.
But the Macedonians went to war too.
There's one more point that I would like to get to in this episode, and one of them is the actual environment of the story.
Yes,
right, because we see a couple of changes happen with gentrification of the neighborhoods. Inglewood is where the place is, but later on in season
Iwood.
2, they changed it to Iwood
because apparently Iwood is more approachable. People will go to a place called Iwood, but maybe not Inglewood. Let me explain. On the show, there's a kind of a subplot of financial issues. How we kind of take jobs we don't want. We get paid that we really don't really appreciate. And we struggle. Like later on, Issa gets in a car wreck, and she can't afford to fix it, and she can't afford the rent to her apartment because the rent went up. Matter of fact, as you go along the show, you begin to see the area get cleaner. You begin to see all of these Black-owned businesses disappear for these weird new businesses like air bars and places where you can buy all kinds of weird things that are owned by white people, and it's kind of a thing that is going on throughout the whole story, and it's kind of a subplot that most people don't talk about, but the show really makes light on the fact that the struggle is real for people who really can't afford to live in these areas that are being, I'm not gonna say colonialized, but like are being changed by the imposing white people.
Gerald can tell you all about that, man. Gerald lives in Austin. Where everybody live at in Austin. Where all the low income Black people live in Austin.
Not in Austin.
Under the bridge.
Not like 45 miles away from Austin somewhere. Like the east side of Austin used to be what was considered the black side of Austin, and now it's been replaced by a lot of urban development. A lot of like the airport, for instance. There used to be an airport in basically where my grandmother used to live, right? And that airport was sold to a developer, and that has become houses. And those houses are on average about maybe $350,000, $400,000 starting out. So that the price of housing here has just become like ridiculous. It's just ballooned out of control. And not only that, like the property taxes have gone out of control. Like everything else, it's
one of the things that the show kind of helped highlight on. I do want to ask before we end the show, Trong, do you ever see anything like this happening to the Vietnamese community?
From my experience, no. I mean, what you do see is, so the Vietnamese community tends to aggregate in their own pockets, and I think that is also reflected whenever there are some Vietnamese who want to venture beyond those pockets, and then they'll make the criteria different. But I don't know if that really gets into gentrification, but it's more so of it's our own choosing. We decide to stay in a certain community. For example, you know where Chinatown is because that's one particular area of Houston.
Yeah.
But and a lot of the residential areas are there for the Vietnamese community. But we really don't have any particular evidence of that. I think there's our preferences, but not necessarily a really obvious form of gentrification.
So what you're saying? There's no Panda Express or PF Chang's there, pretty much.
No, it hasn't gotten there yet. No.
But there is a Timmy Chance.
You know, if it's there, I'll make one last comment. If there was something like that there, the people would speak by not going there. The people would go to the authentic restaurants, the actual ones owned by the Vietnamese people, not ones
It'll
owned
eventually
by
go.
There you go.
Oh, yeah, we need to learn from that.
All right, so one of the episodes we have to get Trong's take on what a real community is supposed to look like.
I don't know if I can give you the answers to that, but I'll try. I'm working towards that myself.
All right, guys. Well, that'll do it for today's episode. I know we touched on a lot of different things, but hopefully you got something good out of it. For those who were listening on the Thursday episodes, welcome and thank you. And for those who are watching on YouTube, thank you as well. We will see you guys. Oh, wait. Before I close things out, the poll question.
There we go.
So the poll question for this episode is, should employees be able to express their personal freedoms and thoughts at work? So, yeah, that's kind of touching on some of the stuff we mentioned earlier. So if you guys want to answer that poll question, just go to totalmedulla.com and just look for the episode titled American Insecurity.
Yes.
That is all the time that we have for today's episode, and we will see you guys next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye. Adios.
Bye-bye.